Alright guys, moving out today, so we're starting to box everything up. One of the things I want to bring up today is fight your own corner. Now I know a lot of you MGTOW guys have already been through divorce and whatever, but you would have been well aware that you were told what you needed to do and directed in that direction. There's two aspects of this. Some of it is socialism, where they make you responsible for other people, and socialism to me should actually mean that everybody is equal in the sense that everybody puts the same amount of work in. But in reality that doesn't happen. So as far as I'm concerned, socialism simply is a false economy. But state and whatever will say you have obligations and whatever that suits the state. Not you. It's not for your benefit, it's for their benefit. In the same way, your ex-partner and her lawyers will tell you that it's for you have obligations, etc. They are not taking into consideration you and how it affects you and how it affects you long term. Don't play their game, play your own. There's a friend of mine, I can actually talk about this now, but for many moons I just kept it quiet. His wife had been having an affair with a neighbour, and had been for some time, several years. And it all come to the surface. She was then filing for divorce. They had kids, so she was automatically getting the house whatever way he liked it. She was after the car. She wanted half of his company. She was going after everything. He took his BMW and rolled it in a field. Literally come off a corner about 90 miles an hour and just completely destroyed it in a newly churned field. The mud churned the mud up, so it rolled and basically there was nothing left of the car. At that point, that's when his brother got involved, and his brother bought the business from his brother for £1. At that point, his ex-wife had no rights of access to the company. It had been sold. Because she had no legal rights to it. She wasn't on any of the documents or anything. She was just after the cash. Well, there was no business now. On top of that, he now worked for his brother and was only paid the absolute minimum. I think back then it was something like £44.60 a week, which meant he had no income. All the assets relating to his accommodation, everything, become work orientated, in the sense that he would be working somewhere, so was staying in a hotel or whatever. He'd basically written off his entire wealth. And yes, she got the house, but she certainly did not get half the business, and she certainly didn't get as much as she thought she would on everything else, because quite simply, he'd got rid of everything. You can do that. And you've got to be very swift at it, let's be honest. If the lawyers get adrift of this, they're not aware of what's going on, they'll be down on you as quick as they can. But if it's already happened, you'll go, I didn't know. You're allowed to be stupid. That's the thing. They think you're stupid. They'll tell you, this is your obligations. You are responsible for this. This is blah, blah, blah. At no point do they consider you as a human being. You are just a piece of money to pay these other people. Pay the ex's lawyer, pay your lawyer, pay for the court service, pay for the ex-partner for the rest of your life. Don't get into it. Don't assume any of this is working to your benefit. Don't assume that you have to do everything they're saying. I second guess and I research everything. You know, Google's a good friend out there. And one of the things I want to try and do with this MGTOW stuff now is actually try and focus some of it on how to actually work our way around a lot of these problems. Getting rid of all your assets is one. You know, there's nothing to say you can't go and sell everything until you get into a position where they tell you can't sell everything. You could put it down to a partial mental breakdown or whatever. You know, at the end of the day, there is ways to make this work for your benefit. And the reason I bring this up is I did think about some of this stuff twice, because I sit there, and this is how it gets used, you see. This is socialism at work. What you have is somebody saying, you know what, man, but a lot of this stuff was brought in because of battered wives, bad husbands, da-da-da. But in today's society, we're looking at a 50% fail rate. 50% of the men are not bad. I don't give a what the statistics are. It is not 50% of men. End of. 50% of relationships are failing. And yet the lifelong commitments seem to be firmly being dumped on the man's responsibility, and at the same time they don't really seem to consider the ex-partner. And it changed for me when it come to the CSA, Child Support Agency. Child Support Agency, when it was set up, it was promising to chase people that didn't pay their child support. Now, you're talking about methadone, Mick and everybody else that simply will not pay it, or they avoid payments, they're unemployed most of the time, etc., etc. And it was sort of pointed out that we're focused on these people. We're focusing on those business people that avoid it through X, Y, Z. So what do? As soon as it's set up, they target people that have already had settlements. Somebody who's bought a house, split up with the guy's paid off the mortgage, given out the house because the house is worth £100,000. The ex-partner has not put any of that money in, or a very small amount, and that is the settlement. You do not need to contact me or anything else. There, I've given you £100,000. Child Support Agency, hang on a minute. But she goes down the benefit office because she may have a house fully paid, but it doesn't pay for the school uniforms, it doesn't pay for the kids, blah, blah, blah. We're going to reassess it. And the fact is, they then go, she'll keep the house because that's already agreed, but you still have to pay £170 a week for your children as well. Now, I'm not being funny, £170 a week back then was more than a lot of people I know actually earn. So why the hell some ex-partner needs it when she's physically and mentally capable of work is beyond me. But that's what they did. They focused on those types of people, caused a lot of suicides and deaths, and being a socialist environment, do not take any responsibility. Socialism for me, as I've seen it in the UK, has no responsibility over any of its actions. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. Anytime you have a socialist government, they turn around and say, that's not socialist government because it failed. So what was it then? What is Venezuela right now? Well, no, that's not socialism. It's beyond me because they don't take responsibility and never have done. And this is the same association with costs. They don't believe in costs. They believe in taking from you, but not taking from themselves. Everyone should be equal on this planet, but there's no connection to finances. In the same time, when you have a rise of living standards, they never let go back down. They don't adjust with an economy. They expect more constantly, never less. They do. I'm not being funny. When I work for some companies, I know they've been in financial problems when I've worked for them. Do I grumble about not getting a pay rise or anything else? No. In fact, I've often done extra hours and times to keep the company afloat. How many socialists would do that? They'd be the ones out on strike asking for more money because it's the top people in the business taking it. Reality is, it's not. It's often not. It's often the case that there's a lot of hidden burdens in running a business that they don't even accommodate of. And a lot of it comes down to socialism. Like a lot of the ring-fence pensions related to social, councils and other employees that work for the state. Point being is, you are getting played. And whether it's in the courthouse or with your taxes, just recognize it. But one of the ultimate things is, don't let them play you as if you should feel guilty about going against some of this stuff. Because they think they're entitled to everything you've got. They have a false sense of entitlement. They're stealing from you and expecting you to say thank you. Thanks for watching.